Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. This watch is the direct descendant of a long and distinguished line of smaller automatic winding Speedmaster chronographs. I would say it takes after, if we were to trace it to its earliest lineage, probably something along the lines of the late 1980s Speedy Reduced. Now, of course, the Speedy Reduced did not include a sapphire crystal for most of its existence. It never included a coaxial escapement, a chronometer certification, or a date, which is to say what we have here is a very modern update, and this model line came about in 2017. So the Speedmaster coaxial chronograph is 38 millimeters in stainless steel. That's the diameter. 14.7 millimeters thick, 44.8 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and it has an 18 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, I believe that we can let the 2000s go. Back when 42 was considered a lady's watch and 48 was a men's watch, there were some distorted expectations. I really do believe that 38 millimeters, especially in a sporty watch like this in steel, this is a unisex size. A man can wear this, a woman can wear this. It is beautiful and easily worn, short across the wrist and suitable for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. My wrist, for those who are new to the channel, is 16 centimeters in circumference. And although the watch is not thin, nor is it particularly thick, jacket sleeves and most shirt sleeves should have no trouble clearing it. The bracelet is fairly dressy. As you can see, it has a short link cross section and a 3-link design that's a little bit like a Rolex President, but not exactly like a Rolex President. You can see there are some polished intermediates inboard of the shoulders. There are polished centers. Outer faces are polished. Removable links are fixed by screws. We have a semi-conforming end link that nicely mates the bracelet to the case, so it's not like a straight bar. There's no awkwardness. The two things are fit flush. And then there is a little bit of a taper down from the end link to the clasp. You can see that many individual links are removable by screw, so you should be able to get a good sizing. And then we have a double deployant clasp. It is a sequential close. One side closes before the other, and then it is a twin trigger release, so you must press both triggers to open it up. Now, you may ask, why has there always been a seahorse on the Speedmaster? Isn't that a Seamaster symbol? Well, when the Speedmaster first launched in 1957, it was part of the water-resistant and far-ranging Seamaster collection. First Seamaster came about in 1948. It was water-resistant, but not a dive watch. And up through the late 1950s, water-resistant watches still bore the Seamaster signature on the back. This was before the Seamaster became a more specialized dive-style watch, and gradually the Seamaster would become more of a diver-style watch. The Speedmasters would become more associated with land sports and aerospace, yet that lineage is retained symbolically. Now, the case, simple. Lyre-style lugs, which means both inboard and outboard beveling. Inboard it's satinated, outboard it's polished. There's a bevel that runs end-to-end. The mid-case is longitudinally satinated. There's a little bit of a shear guard profile for the pushers and crown. And note the nuance of this particular pump pusher. It's got a little bit of a fluting on its end that's distinctive of these models. You can also see that we have a little pusher adjuster on the flank. This 3330 coaxial chronometer automatic chronograph is a rare coaxial adaptation of a Valjoux 7753, which is the balanced tri-register version of 7750. Well, in the process of reorienting the dial, you lose the quickset. So on any 7753 or derivative, which this is, you have a quickset trigger for the date up at approximately 10 o'clock on the side of the case. Now, 100 meters water resistant. You better believe you can swim with this watch. No problems there. And then we have a notched or serrated bezel. And note that the serrations match the location of the numerals, which is a nice little detail. The tachymeter scale can be used with the chronograph to gauge the speed of an object. I always like to say a race car over a kilometer, though if you're particularly good with mental conversions and decimals, you can time and gauge the speed of almost anything. The Tachymeter is anodized aluminum on these models, so it's got a bit of a vintage look. You can see the dramatically boxed and cambered sapphire design will look a little bit like a vintage plexi, and it really does. We have a dial that is opaline, or a soft metallic silver white. We have applique rose gold plated indices, rose gold plated hands. This is a great use of two-tone on a watch. Two-tone externally is very controversial, but a little bit of rose gold to add richness to a dial, that's quite becoming. You can see that the sub-registers have bases that are circular with a concentric pattern, but they actually feature this scalloped oblong profile that runs side to side rather than top to bottom or circular. And then, of course, we have a little oblong vertically oriented aperture for viewing the date. The watch does feature a hacking seconds function. Also, although the 7753 here has been converted to a column wheel from its conventional cam operation, and it pays off in a crisp feeling and sounding chronograph option, the 7753 and this 3330 use what's called an oscillating pinion, which is a very fine type of lateral clutch that produces very little jump or stagger when you start the chronograph. In general, if you press and hold the start button of a oscillating pinion, you will get almost no jump, whereas with a conventional lateral clutch, you'll typically get 1.5 to 2 seconds of jump. This is a much finer engagement because of the tiny toothing of an oscillating pinion, which is why some who still want to use a lateral clutch but want greater precision use this system, including FP Journe. Now, also important, the fact that you can't see the movement, so I'm going to have to use visual imagery as I speak. The 3330 is still a unidirectional winder, and it's based on the 7753 architecture. It is a 52 to 54 hour power reserve, and it has a free sprung architecture that is adjusted in 5 positions. This is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. Note it doesn't say master chronometer, so this is COSC, not METAS, and it is adjusted in 5 positions. It is COSC certified, which means it's been through the 2-week battery at multiple temperatures and in 5 positions tested, so that over 24 hours it varied no more than -4 + 6 seconds per day. And this features a silicon anti-magnetic hairspring, which means in addition to being fairly shock tolerant and 100 meters water resistant, this watch is also highly anti-magnetic. So it has a lot of attractive features, and it features a decent amount of luminescence at night, including the chronograph seconds hand. Once again, you do have a hacking seconds function if you want to set the watch precisely to the second against a reference time. So reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.